Welcome to Chasing Our Tips, Keys to Victory for Round 6, Super Saturday and the Sunday ticket. First up is the Sharks versus the Seagulls. The Sharks are one of the most disappointing teams of the round in their 24-20 loss to the Raiders. Hines and Trindle both went missing in action again, and Nico Hines' game has hit rock bottom, especially his defence, and should be a major concern for the Sharks. Hiroti and Fanua-Blake were the Sharks' two best performers against the Raiders. Hiroti with quality power carries and work rate, and Fanua-Blake demanded the ball when the game was on the line and ran like an absolute beast and did all he could to try and get the Sharks home. The Sharks are $1.50 for the win. A Hines try gets $3.50. Hiroti's $2.60 for a try. Trindle's $3. And if Fanua-Blake can get over, you get $3.50. Now for the Seagulls. They put in a disgraceful performance against the Storm. The defence was some of the worst I've ever seen. Okoladu and Bullymore both had blinders and were big standouts for the Seagulls. They put their names up in lights for Origin selection. Kohler had a huge first 40 minutes with awesome power carries, but has to learn how to go after the game and be in it for 80 minutes. The Seagulls are $2.60 for the win. Okoladu is $3.25 for a try. Bullymore's $4.75, and if Kohler can get over, you get $3. Game 2 on Super Saturday, the Rabbitohs versus the Cowboys. This is a battle of the two worst defensive teams in the competition. The Rabbitohs have to get their attack right this week. There was 15 gone in the game against the Roosters. They had 40 tackles on the Roosters 20 and could only score one try. Tallis Duncan was brewing again with hard runs and big shots. Latrell Mitchell's long kicking game was on point and spectacular. The Rabbitohs are $2.10 for the win. Tallis Duncan's $4.25 for a try. And if Latrell Mitchell can get over, you'll get $3. Now for the Cowboys. I was hugely impressed by Jeremiah Nanai again with some big one-on-one stops and half breaks. Winger Robert Darby was in everything, defence and attack, trying as hard as he could. Jay Clifford couldn't back up his huge game against the Raiders and has some big question marks on him to see if he can compete at NRL level. The Cowboys are $1.74 for the win. Jeremiah Nanai's $2.60 for a try. Robert Darby's $1.85, and if Jake Clifford can turn things around, he'll get $4 for a try. Game 3 on Super Saturday, the Eels versus the Raiders. Even though the Eels got the win against the Dragons, the game was full of unforced errors galore. The Eels were lazy in defence and attack, and Joe O was one of the worst defenders. I'm more and more impressed with Luca Moretti every time I see him play. He's the Eel that runs and hits the hardest. Iongi had a huge start to his NRL career, then had a real rough patch, but hit back hard last week. The Eels are $3 for the win. A Joe O tries $7, Luca Moretti $7, and Iongi's $2.50 for a try. Now for the Raiders. They hit back and got a win at home last week, and a few of their young guns really caught my eye. I thought Ethan Strange closed distance in defence like an absolute boss, and Shimmy Shanger worked hard and showed his class off the bench. KO Weeks is going to be a top liner, but at the moment he desperately needs a reset and a spell to get back to playing his best football. The Raiders are $1.40 for the win. Ethan Strange is $3.10 for a try. Shimmy Shanger is $3.35 for a try. KO Weeks is $2.20 for a try. Game 1 on the Sunday ticket, the Storm versus the Warriors. Katoa had another blinder in the Storm's 48-24 win over the Seagulls last week. He ran hard with every carry and had rock-solid defence. The Storm team is a completely different animal, and both Pappenhausen and Hughes are in the team. The Storm attack and defence and roll teams backwards down the field and destroy teams with hard runs, offloads and second phase play. The Storm are $1.17 for the win. Katoa's $2.25, Pappenhausen's $1.75, and Hughes is $2.50 for a try. Now for the Warriors. Halasima caught my eye again last start against the Tigers. He scored a great try and had a huge power performance in defence and attack, with a huge work rate, and made the Warriors a much more dangerous team. Bunny Afoa is making a huge impact off the bench with power carries, and I want to see him get much more game time. The Warriors attack had too much one-out running against the Tigers and has to change. The Warriors are $5 for the win. Halasima try get you $4.75, and if Bunny Afoa can get over, you get $6.50. Game 2 on the Sunday ticket, the Knights versus the Tigers. Unforced errors and penalties are a big reason why the Knights got smashed by the Dogs last week and have to make adjustments this week. The Knights had nothing in attack last week. Their halves never even got into the game and both scored a 2 on Chasing Hard Tips player ratings. And with Phoenix Crossland in the halves this week, I can't see anything changing. Marzul's one of the Knights' best players, but had a nightmare of a game under the high ball last week, and we target again big time under the high ball by the Tigers. Kalen Ponga claims to be a $2 million footballer, but never got out of first gear again in the Knights' 20-0 spanking by the Dogs. The Knights are $1.67 for the win. Phoenix Crossland's $4.50 for a try. And Marzu try get you $1.80. And if Kalen Ponga can get out of first gear this week and score a try, you get $2.15. Now for the Tigers. Taruva had another blinder against the Broncos and is quickly becoming one of the Tigers' best. Sione Fainu starred in defence and attack against the Broncos with big hits and power carries. He looks strong and dangerous. Coruscant's been one of the Tigers' best and the game's best players for a long time, but I think Father Time has finally caught up with him and he's not the same footballer anymore and it's time to retire. Royce Hunt is an absolute smashing machine for the Tigers and he's not getting enough game time. The Tigers are $2.20 for the win. A Taruva try get you $1.95. Sione fine is $9 for a try. Coruscant's $4. And if Big Bad Royce Hunt can get over for a try, you'll get $6. That's it for the keys to victory for Super Saturday and the Sunday ticket, and I'll see you all at full time.